Breaking Bad is considered the greatest TV drama ever made. And the reason it hits so hard isn't the writing or the acting. It's because almost everything in it seems uniquely plausible, familiar. Real chemistry teachers caught making meth, a real Walter White, a real Gustavo Fring, real blue meth on the street. Let's go case by case through Breaking Bad and show you the true crimes hiding behind every plotline. Stay until the end, because the Walter White connection is stranger than anything the show invented. Let's start with the most obvious question. Is there a real Walter White? Yes. Well, sorta. A man literally named Walter Jack White, 53 years old, was arrested for distributing 32 pounds of meth. Police investigated after his own son shot at him over a drug debt, which also happened to be a point of conflict in the Breaking Bad series. And just like the fictional Walter, the real Walter White claimed he couldn't stop selling after receiving threats from his supplier. But it goes further than a named coincidence. In 2017, a New Mexico high school chemistry teacher named John Goes pleaded guilty to producing methamphetamine. Same profession, same crime, same state as the show. The district attorney's office literally described it as life imitating art. And at Henderson State University in Arkansas, a chemistry professor named Bradley Allen Rowland was caught making meth in his university lab. He was even nicknamed Heisenberg by colleagues, the same alias Walter White uses in the show. Breaking Bad didn't inspire these people, it just put a name and a face to something that was already happening. The blue meth, real or fiction? One of the most iconic elements of Breaking Bad is Walter's blue meth. So pure, so distinctive, it becomes a brand, a product, a status symbol in the drug world. Here's what's real. Colored and branded meth has been documented by the DEA for years. Drug manufacturers use dyes and distinctive coloring to mark their product, differentiate it from competitors, and build brand loyalty among users. The concept of blue meth isn't a creative invention, it's a documented marketing tactic in the actual drug trade. The show's chemistry is described by experts as basically accurate, detailing real synthesis methods that governments have since moved to restrict, including limiting sales of pseudoephedrine, which Walter uses as a starting material in the early seasons. The show was so accurate that in March 2025, a 22-year-old chemistry major in Italy was arrested with a meth manufacturing setup that law enforcement said was directly modeled on what he'd seen in the series. Breaking Bad didn't just depict drug manufacturing. For some people, it became a how-to guide. Most people think Gustavo Fring is the most fictional part of Breaking Bad. A fast food chicken restaurant owner who is secretly one of the most powerful drug kingpins in the country? That sounds like a TV writer's fantasy. It isn't. Gus Fring's character was deliberately modeled on real traffickers who maintain public facades while running criminal empires. The duality of legitimate businessman and ruthless drug lord mirrors documented real-world cases. The specific method, using a legitimate restaurant chain as a distribution network, has real precedent. The real-life mafia used restaurants and food businesses for exactly this purpose for decades. The FBI has documented numerous cases of drug distribution networks using food delivery logistics as cover, the same way Gus uses Los Pollos Hermanos refrigerator trucks. The cartel in Breaking Bad is explicitly based on the real-life Juarez cartel, one of the most brutal criminal organizations in Mexican history. Known for decapitating rivals and dumping bodies in public to terrorize both law enforcement and civilians. Gus isn't a fantasy villain. He's a composite of real people who are hiding in plain sight. Hank Schrader chasing his brother-in-law Walter White across the span of the show is one of television's greatest dramatic arcs. But how realistic is the DEA's actual ability to track someone like Walt? More realistic than the show suggests, which actually works against Walt's plausibility as a character. Real DEA financial investigations are extraordinarily sophisticated. Unusual cash deposits, sudden lifestyle changes, shell companies, unusual chemical purchases, all of these trigger automatic flags in federal monitoring systems. The Breaking Bad writers knew this, which is why they brought an actual FBI financial crimes agent into the writer's room. They understood that to make Walt's survival believable, they had to build in realistic enough details that audiences would buy it. The truth? A real Walter White operating at the scale depicted would almost certainly have been caught far sooner. The show is accurate about the methods. It's generous about the timeline. This is the segment that changes how you watch Breaking Bad. An ex-Massachusetts state representative named Stephen Doran was diagnosed with stage 3 melanoma, an almost identical situation to Walter White's. He responded by becoming a drug kingpin, lying to his neighbors and family while running what the sheriff described as a sophisticated operation. In the UK, a chemistry lecturer named Richard Jakubczyk was sentenced to 9 years in prison after being caught planning to produce 40 kilograms of high-purity amphetamine every 48 hours. After sentencing, a National Crime Agency officer said, "The plot was like a real-life version of Breaking Bad." Jason Hart, 28, strangled his girlfriend and attempted to destroy the body using hydrofluoric acid, exactly the method shown in Breaking Bad. When police investigated, they found the specific episode still in his DVD player. Authorities believed he was using it as a guide. Let's be honest, Breaking Bad is a TV show, and there are things it gets wrong for the sake of entertainment. The scale of Walter's operation is the biggest stretch. Real meth manufacturing at that level requires enormous precursor chemical supply chains, distribution networks, and corruption of law enforcement, all of which would generate massive federal attention far faster than the show depicts. The Gus Fring operation, while plausible in concept, would in reality require far more people, far more infrastructure, and far more exposure than shown. The fewer people who know, the more secure the operation, but the less capable it becomes at scale. What the show nails perfectly is the psychology. The gradual moral erosion, the ego that outgrows the original justification, the lies that compound until they're impossible to maintain. That part isn't fiction at all. Every real case in this video shares the same arc. It starts with a reason that sounds almost understandable. It ends the same way every time. Breaking Bad is fiction, but it's fiction assembled from real people, real struggles, real consequences. The chemistry teachers who got caught, the real Walter White, the Gus Fring model that mirrors actual documented traffickers, the people who watch the show and decide to try it themselves. Art doesn't just imitate life. Sometimes life watches the art and takes notes. If this video gave you a new way to see the show, subscribe. There is plenty more reality behind the stories that entertain us.